In this video, I wanted to make a tier list regarding usage rates of the Mega Pokemon in Pokemon Brick Bronze. Now, the unfortunate thing about this is that this is not based on statistical evidence. It's purely based on my experience in the Pokemon Brick Bronze scene. Although I will say I believe that I'm somewhat credible because I've been here since the original game, since I've been doing PvP since 2017, early 2017, and I've been here the whole time, even in the remakes. I've played plenty of remakes, so basically this tier list is gonna be based on those rankings. Now, of course, it might not be the same as you. Like I might, have seen a Pokemon a bit more often than you did, or it could be vice versa. I've seen a Pokemon a lot less than you did. So, do keep that in mind. Although I think that this is pretty general, and it is mainly based on trends because a lot of people just like to use the same thing because the meta really does have its own twist. I find that Pokemon Brick Bronze is based a lot on fast offensive Pokemon, so those are very popular. So that's that. But I guess without further ado, I'm gonna get started. So first we have Mega Aerodactyl here, and this is actually quite a common sighting here in the Pokemon Brick Bronze PvP scene. Now I wouldn't say it's the most popular Pokemon because not everybody uses it, but it is a frequent sighting, especially among really invested competitive players. Not many noobs will pick it up, but like I said, people that are trying to get into competitive will go for it because it has good offenses, and mainly its main selling point is the speed, which is almost on there's very little that can actually outspeed it, so it can be really useful, especially in the late game, and just so that you actually have a way of taking out a lot of the common offensive Pokemon that are already weakened. Aerodactyl is really good for that type of cleaning. So anyways, here we have Mega Gallade, which I'll say is probably occasionally seen. I wouldn't say it's anywhere near as common as Aerodactyl, although it's not too rare at the same time because I've seen it a couple times, a lot more in the original, but also more so in the older remakes I've played, like Bronze Reforged in the early 2022 time. So this was something you would see every now and then. Some players would pick it up, but it's not really the most common because Gallade isn't really the best Mega. It's a good one, but not necessarily the best, so it doesn't see so much play. But it is still occasionally seen, thus its ranking. Now Mega Bayonet, this actually I'll put it here in scene once or twice. I've actually never really seen anybody use it that much. I've seen a YouTuber, Jamie, he did use this for quite a long time, but that's literally the only time I've seen anybody use Mega Bayonet. So thus I would give it the once or twice rating. Now maybe I might be wrong, it might be used a lot more, I don't really remember that, so it's going here, and I have never seen it in any of the newer remakes, so it's not the highest ranked Pokemon. Now Mega Ampharos, on the other hand, is going here in the never seen tier. I used them myself at some point. That's actually why my channel art was a Mega Ampharos, because I made it during the time when I was running it, although that's the only time I've ever seen it be used, and this is based on other players, not myself. So I've never seen anyone use Mega Ampharos. That's for good reason too, because it's really difficult to use effectively thanks to its low speed, and it really just relies on support to be effective, like Trick Room. But that's that. It's not a common sighting. Now Mega Aggron here, I'll put it here in the rarely seen category. It's definitely got more usage than Mega Bayonet, especially between the lower tier players, surprisingly, because a lot of players used to like Aggron, especially in the original game, and Mega Stone was something that people would do. Now it's not really seen that much in higher level play. Not many people like it too much, but it does offer really good defenses, and it has some usage, so therefore it's rarely seen. Now Mega Abomasnow, I'll put it here in the scene once or twice. Not because anyone nowadays uses it. It's never been used in the remakes. I've never seen anybody run Abomasnow. Although I do remember in the older game there was a Christmas event where you could get a shiny Mega Abomasnow, and a couple people would use it every now and then. So that is a Pokemon you'll see once or twice, but other than that, it's really rare. Same thing with Mega Audino here. I'll probably put it a bit above Abomasnow. So probably the same ranking as Bayonet. I've seen Jamie use it, and that's basically it. But I do know that some people did run it because, you know, I had friends that liked it. Although I've never seen it in the remakes, maybe in the original game, but that's that. Now, Mega Camerupt is a Pokemon that I've never seen be used. I'm sorry if you guys have seen that, but I've never seen anybody use this, mainly because it kind of sucks. I mean, it does have a lot of, you know, offensive power output with sheer force, and it's high 145, I believe 145 special attack stat, but it has so many drawbacks. Like, you know, it has a quad water weakness, and water types are pretty common in Brick Bronze, and it's not like that fast. I mean, it's not that great in simple terms, so I put it here in the never seen. Now, Mega Charizard X. This is a Pokemon that you will see almost everywhere because, I mean, Charizard's incredibly popular, and even in the higher levels, a lot of higher level players will use Charizard X because it's actually really good. And at some point in actual Gen 6 OU almost got banned to Ubers because it was really strong, although that didn't happen. But it's a really powerful Pokemon. The new players use it, the pro players use it. It's really common. Same thing with Charizard Y. In fact, I'll put it above Charizard X, mainly because back in the original game, I remember it was all the hype, and a lot of people liked it because, you know, with Drought, your fire type attacks did so much damage, and then it had Solar Beam for water type, so it was basically one of the most popular Pokemon, and it is still really popular. Even the higher the higher level players will use this too because it's a really good Mega. So it's basically seen everywhere. Now, Mega Diancie, it would be in between this tier and this. I just put it here in the rarely seen because people do use it every now and then. Now, the main difficulty with this Pokemon is that actually getting the Diancie is a pretty difficult process, but most people who do get it will actually use it, you know, occasionally. Maybe not like as a main Pokemon, but they'll pull it out. So, I mean, I did remember seeing this a couple of times, although still not that common, but it is, not necessarily too rare. Now, Mega Garchomp, surprisingly, is also here in the rarely seen category, somewhere around where Aggron is. Now, I really haven't seen too many higher players or higher level players use it, and that's because many of them just don't like the speed drop. Or maybe I'll put this here in occasionally seen. I think it's common enough because a lot of the newer players will just want to have Garchomp. Like, Garchomp's an incredibly popular Pokemon on its own right, and then some people might think I may as well just Mega Evolve it because they'll think it's actually better. And it's not, I actually like Mega Garchomp stat spread. I don't like the speed, but the attack looks really good, so I might try it at some point. But I mean, other than that, like, it's basically carried by the newer players that do like it. Maybe you'll see it once in a while with, higher level players that will run Tailwind or Sticky Web to get over the speed, and then you can go with Swords Dance, although I've never really seen it. Now, Mega Gardevoir is probably ahead of Gallade, somewhere in this, I'll say often, because back in the original game, I saw it a lot. Like, it was really common, or at least for me. And even in the newer games, you'll see it every now and then. It's not the number one pick, but many people like Gardevoir, and it's like a similar story with Garchomp. So therefore, they'll Mega Evolve it, and that basically carries its usage. Now, Mega Gengar is a hard one to rank because, I mean, truth be told, I have not seen it, too often. Surprisingly, even though that this is an Uber's Pokemon, but it's not as common as you would expect. And I'm gonna put it here in the occasionally seen category, and this is actually a higher ranking because I feel like it's more popular than my experience, because I mean, I've only seen it like a few times. Like, I remember King Saquon, one guy I battled, had a Mega Gengar, and there was another guy I battled a long time ago. I forgot his username, but like one of the original battles I posted on this channel was against that guy, and I remember he did have a Mega Gengar. I'll have to look at that later. I might edit that in. But that was it. I mean, I think I might have seen it in the original game. People would probably use it in the original game, especially because there wasn't a link Gengar where you could get the Gengarite H. So it has usage from that. Although other than that, like I've really not seen it as much. Like I've seen Gardevoir and Aerodactyl way more than I've seen Gengar. So for that reason, putting it in the occasionally seen. Now Mega Glalie is gonna go here in the bottom of the barrel. I've never seen anybody use it. The only time I've seen Mega Glalie was when I used it, and that doesn't count. So for that reason, it's in the never seen category, mainly because it sucks. I mean, like, or it doesn't suck. Okay, I was able to get some good use out of it every now and then, but it's really really difficult to use. It's Glalie itself is not a very popular Pokemon in Brick Bronze because it doesn't even have a great stat spread, and I mean like this Mega isn't even that much better. So I mean there are other Pokemon or better Megas here that you can use. So not many people will go out of their way to get this. Although maybe I'm wrong, maybe someone has, but I've never seen this. Like even Ampharos and Camerupt, I feel have more justification in this because at least you can get these Pokemon in. You can switch this in on electric type attack. Same thing with this Camerupt. But you can't switch this Glalie in because it has a terrible defensive typing. And even when it does come in, it can't really do too much damage because there are Pokemon that can resist its attacks. So if you go across a team that has that, then you're kind of screwed, and it's not really that great. So I mean, for that reason, it's never seen. I liked it, but it's truly not that great. Now Mega Gyarados, I'll put this here in the occasionally seen at the very end. Not very common, although I do know a couple people that did use this in PvP. Like I remember my friend Bounty used to run a shiny Mega Gyarados. I've seen a couple of YouTubers. I've seen it every now and then, like in the base game. Gyarados is a pretty popular Pokemon. Same thing with the Garchomp and Gardevoir. They'll just Mega Evolve it because they like the base form, or something like that. So for that reason, occasionally seen. Mega Blaziken is seen everywhere. Not as much as Charizard, but to a pretty comparable level. And that's because it's really good and people think it looks really cool. So for that reason, it's a really common sighting. I mean, I don't think there's much more that needs to be said. Mega Heracross, I'll say, is probably here in the seen once or twice category. At the top for sure, because I mean I've seen, or maybe I'll put it here in rarely seen. Well, yeah, rarely seen, because I mean I haven't seen it too much recently. I did see it one time though, against this user named Drax, which was actually a really recent battle on this channel. However, I haven't seen it that much more other than that. Now maybe in the original game some people would use it because it has a really high attack stat that looks really appealing, so there is reason behind it. And Skill Link, which was really popular because everyone would be running Cloyster and Cinccino, so Heracross would be a likable Pokemon based on the community of Pokemon Break Bronze PvP. But I would give it rarely seen just because I've seen it, but it's still kind of rare. So I think that's the right placement right there. Now Mega Beedrill, I'll put it right here, actually above Gardevoir on seen often, because I've seen a lot of players that use this Pokemon, mainly because it has really high speed stats. And it's good for that reason, and it has really good offenses with adaptability. Now, the truth be told, I think its offensive stab combination kind of sucks because Toxapex, or really any Pokemon with the poison typing, will check the stab combination. Now they have to worry about Drill Run, but I mean like a Pokemon like Toxapex can take Drill Run pretty good. And then Sizer comes in for free on Beedrill. Like Beedrill can't touch Sizer. Maybe a knockoff or a Drill Run would suck, but that's all I can do. So that's literally that. So it's not top level Pokemon, but it is seen every now, or not seen every now and then. It's seen pretty often. Like I've seen this a good amount of times. Just the ranking. Now Alakazam, I actually say it's in the same boat as Mega Gengar. It's a really good Pokemon. Not as good as Gengar, but comparatively good because it has a really high speed stat. Although I haven't seen it as much as I would have expected to. I mean, I might have seen it a couple times in the original game, although in the remakes I've never seen it before, and that's kind of crazy. I mean, I used it myself, but that, like I said, doesn't count. So right here, I'm going to put in the occasionally seen because I saw it a lot more in the original game. Maybe every now and then I might have come across it in the remix, although I don't remember that. So, I think this is a good ranking. Now, Mega Absol will go here on the, it will go in the occasionally seen category above Gengar. Now, truth be told, most players that you're going to see using this are noobs, and that's because they got it for free, and it's a high level, so they think it's actually really good. Now, those kind of players are pretty easy to beat, although the actual competitive players that use Absol are incredibly rare. I've only seen like 2 people, so it actually deserves to go down here. But because of all the new players that get it for free, I'm putting it up here. But it's actually a really underrated Pokemon. I'd recommend trying if you haven't already. Now, Mega Altaria, I'll say, is actually here on the occasionally seen. I've actually, it's actually, yeah, right here behind Absol. It's actually a Pokemon I've seen a good amount of times. However, that was more so in the older remakes. Like, I remember playing Creatures of Terrian. There were a couple people running Mega Altaria, and I think there's this dude called Sharpedo Overlord from Bronze Reforged. It's actually one of my original videos from this channel, the one showcasing Metagross, where you will see this Mega Altaria, and that's just like a few instances, but I've seen this a couple of times, so it is in the occasionally seen category. Blastoise is gonna follow up and go here too. I think this is actually right behind Altaria. I mean, there are a couple people that will use it mainly because they chose Squirtle as their starter, or occasionally you will see the competitive player using this, but it's not that common for competitive usage. It's mainly carried by the people who like Blastoise and decide to Mega Evolve it and run it as their Mega. Now, Houndoom, this is a Pokemon I've actually never seen in the competitive scene. I mean, nah. Like, you could kind of justify these, or well, based on, I know Jamie used this, but even then, like, I've never heard anyone who's actually used Mega Houndoom, and it's a cool Mega, but like, it's for a good reason, because I mean, Charizard really does the job better, being a hard-hitting special fire type. I mean, you do have the dark type, although I don't really think this is your best option, and it doesn't really have a good ability either. So you're better off using Charizard, but it's not really seen too often. Now, Kangaskhan, this is I put this here in the rarely seen above Aggron. I've seen a lot more players use it in the newer games, however, not as common in the older games, mainly because, I mean, the Safari Zone only got added in really late, so there wasn't that much time for people to really, invest into this. However, like I said, in the newer remakes, it's a decently, or not a common sight, but I've seen it every now and then, so I'll put it here in the rarely seen. Latios, Mega Latios, and Mega Latias, seen this like once or twice. None of them are really too common, mainly because first you had to find a legendary, and then after that you had to go to the Lucky Loto to get their stones, which is kind of difficult. So it's not like the most common Pokemon. I've only seen them once or twice. I forgot which one, but I'm just put them together. Sorry guys, I think that's just the best thing to do here. Now, Mega Lopunny, this is going, it's close between seen everywhere and seen often. I'm gonna put this everywhere. That might surprise some. It's kind of like, it's very close to Mega Aerodactyl, although I've seen it enough times to put it everywhere because there's so many players that like it. It's kind of crazy, and that's for a good reason, because it's so fast and it hits really hard. I mean, not too hard, but hard enough where it beats a lot of the offensive Pokemon in the Pokemon Big Bronze metagame. Like I said, they're running everywhere. Like Dragonite, for example, will get shut down by Ice Punch, or there are Pokemon that will get outsped and one-shotted by close combat, or Return. And Scrappy is a great ability because it goes through the immunity of ghost types, and a Pokemon like Mega Sableye can't even check Mega Lopunny because of that. So it is a very common Pokemon, and a very good one at that. So yeah, Lucario is an interesting case. Yeah, that's definitely everywhere, more so than Lopunny. Or maybe no, not as much as Blaziken, because I mean these three are starters, so they have like that edge. But or actually, yeah, I'll put it over Blaziken because I mean the one difficulty with Blaziken is that to get its Mega Stone you have to get BP, and that normally takes a long time. So it's not really as frequent as the other Megas, although people who will run Blaziken do opt to get the Mega Stone. So I think it still stays in the everywhere tier. However, Lucario is a fan favorite. A lot of people love it. A lot of people will get it on their team. It's basically everywhere these days. Mega Lucario is it's a pretty expensive Megastone, but it's a pretty popular pick. I mean, it's also a good one. So I saw it a lot more in the older games and the older remakes, not as much in the newer remakes. Although I still have seen it good enough to put it here in the everywhere category. Manectric is gonna go here in the seen often category above Beedrill. It's in a similar case to Mega Aerodactyl and probably Mega Lopunny and Beedrill, where a lot of the competitive PvP battlers that are trying to get into it are trying to look for a good Mega Pokemon, and Manectric offers that as a good special attacker that can pivot with Wall Turn or with Wall Switch, and if you run Sizer, you can get Wall Turn going, and it does a great job at that too with Intimidate. And if you have a Wish Pokemon, this Pokemon can be crazy good, and it has speed too, which makes it all the more popular. So it's seen pretty often. Mega Malval, I'll say it's seen pretty often too. More so in the older remakes, and I would also say older Pokemon Break Bronze. Not as much these days in the newer remakes, although it's definitely declining a bit in popularity because a lot of people are finding counters. Like I do remember, I'm pretty sure his name is Miamit, something like that. But it was a battle where I had Chandelure, and with Substitute, you can basically shut down Malval if you get the right reads. So I mean, it's a really potent Pokemon, especially in the higher levels of play, because like if you have a stall team and you can't really do much to Malval, then it can tear through, because I mean speed is its main problem, and if you can't outspeed it, then this is gonna be a machine. Like my Toxapex, I mean it could come in, but it wasn't really taking any of the hits too well. Like Stone Edge, even though it's not stab, will do huge damage. Sucker Punch is the main thing that Malvar runs, and the reason it finds so much success in Pokemon Break Bronze is because all the faster offensive Pokemon will get one-shotted by Sucker Punch after one Swords Dance. So it's basically everywhere in Break Bronze. Now Medicham is an interesting case. Now I really want to put it here on the everywhere tier, but I'm gonna hold myself and put it here in the seen often. Probably above Manectric here, but not as much as Aerodactyl. Now, in the older games, you wouldn't see it as much. Same thing with the older remakes. However, with the newer remakes, at the top level, this is like the #1 pick. Almost all the players will go for Mega Medicham, mainly because, it's so good. And that's only something that's really being discovered now. Actually, it's not really something that many older players would go for. However, the new generation loves Medicham, so I'm putting it here in the scene often. Like I've seen this so many times in Bronze Legends, so for that reason it's here in the often tier. So Metagross is an interesting case. I'll put it here in the seen often tier. Yeah, right here, or actually right here. Well, actually, no, this is a good place right here. Now, Mega Metagross is an interesting case. I've seen it everywhere in the old game. Well, actually, you know what? It's going up here. Yeah, above Lopunny, actually. Because in the older games, it actually was really popular. A lot of people will run Metagross. It's kind of like the same story with Gardevoir and Garchomp, where they like the Pokemon, so therefore they're gonna Mega Evolve it because it's popular in its base form. And even with the competitive players, this is a really popular pick. Like I know in the older remakes, I remember OZB. That was the guy that I was talking about earlier. But he would run Mega Metagross. He also ran Mega Gengar, but his last Pokemon I remember using was Mega Metagross. And there were players before that. I remember seeing this all the time. I even used it myself to get on the hype train. And I remember the #1 leaderboard player in Bronze Reforged used a Mega Metagross. So it's up there in the highest level. It's common with the noobs. It's basically seen everywhere. Now, not as much in the newer remakes, but I mean, I did remember that moderator I battled that had Metagross, and like, you know, I've not seen it a good amount of times to where it deserves to be here. Now, Mewtwo X and Mewtwo Y, I don't think they're really in the game. Or actually, Mewtwo X, I'll put it here on seen once or twice, mainly because I do remember Creatures of Etarian had it. Now, in most remakes, I'll go here, but because, I mean, Creatures of Etarian did have the Mewtwo Knight X available, I'll put it up here because I do remember that a lot of people that would just use legendaries, they just legend spam, they would use Mega Mewtwo X because they wanted to get the most powerful Mega, or so they thought. So, you know, that's that. Now, Mega Pidgeot. This is an interesting case. I'll put it here in the rarely, or actually occasionally seen. In the older game, this was actually fairly popular, but in the newer games and most of the remakes, it's really rare. I've only seen it like once or twice in the remakes, although I do remember seeing it a good amount of times in the older games, the original games, to justify this. In fact, I even remember once trying to trade my my level 80 Gengar for this, and like my level 80 Gengar is my best Pokemon. Like the rest of my Pokemon were like level 50, so you know, it was a crazy trade. And this Pidgeot was also level 80, but that didn't even happen. But I remember seeing this a lot, and therefore it gets its ranking. Now, Mega Pinsir, we'll go here in the seen off or occasionally seen tier. Not as much as Absol, but amongst the competitive players, a lot of guys like Pinsir because of its offensive capabilities. It's actually really good, and I do want to try it one time or sometime soon, if Pokemon Break Bronze does come back up and I can make the arrangements for it. But you know, it's not enough to be everywhere. Same team we've never seen. Mega Rayquaza is not in the game. I haven't seen it in any games. There are probably games that have it, but I haven't seen that, so it's going there. Now, Mega Sableye is a very interesting case. I'll put it here in the seen once or twice tier. Now, I've never personally seen anybody ever use it in actual like gameplay. However, I mean, like, I'm pretty sure in the original game this must have been a common enough sighting. I probably have seen it once or twice because, you know, they did have a way where you could get the Sableye for free, basically. Like, it was a pretty, or not for, I forgot the process, but like it was like a Megastone that that you could get. Like there's a way to do it. Like, I remember watching a video tutorial, and a lot of players would undergo that and get their own Mega Sableye. So some people would occasionally try it out. Most people didn't like it and didn't run it, but you know, it was occasionally seen, therefore it gets the seen once or twice. Now, Mega Salamence is a Pokemon I'll put up here, seen often. It's a good Pokemon. I wouldn't put it up at the or actually, you know, I'll put it here in the scene area right here, the really end. Barely makes it in, because I mean, it is a pseudo legendary, similar case to Metagross. However, I mean, it's like, unlike Garchomp, it's actually a really good Pokemon, one of the best. It's pretty popular, or not really popular, but I mean, I remember seeing it a lot in the older remakes of Pokemon Brick Bronze. And like, when I say older remakes, I'm talking like 2021, 2020, that type of era. And like around like between 2019 and 2022, I call the older remakes. And then everything like, you know, like late 2022 to current day are the newer remakes. So I mean, I've seen this a lot in the older remakes. Every now and then you'll see a noob using it in the newer remakes, and it was everywhere in the original game, thus its rating. Mega Sceptile is an interesting case. It's actually gonna go here in the occasionally seen tier. I'll say probably, I think in this area behind Gallade. I do remember like my friend used Mega Sceptile, and like they're actually, you know, because of Christmas Sceptile. So thanks to Christmas Sceptile, I think that this deserves to go here at the top of occasionally seen. Actually, no, behind Absol, because there wasn't a event where you could get Mega Christmas Sceptile, so a lot of people would run that because it was actually really good. But other than that, like in the newer remakes, in the older remakes, I've never seen it, except my one friend that did run it, so it's staying here in the occasionally seen. Now, Mega Sizer is another Pokemon that you will see pretty often in the Pokemon Brick Bronze competitive scene. I'll say maybe a bit more than Medicham. Now Medicham is, really common in the newer remakes, but that's its main thing. That's all it has going. Really, really common though, like incredibly popular. Like Charizard tier popular, but Sizer has been consistently popular. It's been really good in the older games. It's been or in the original game. That's what I mean. In the older remakes, I've seen it quite a lot, and even in the newer remakes, I've encountered it quite a few times. Now, it's not common enough to go in the everywhere tier. It's close enough, but it's not just there. But it's a pretty popular site. Sharpedo is a Pokemon I've probably seen once or twice. I've really not seen it be used that much, other than like on YouTube, and that's it. So just going here in the once or twice tier. Mega Slowbro is I've probably seen this once or twice being used, but it's pretty rare. Therefore, it's not going any higher. Mega Steelix is an interesting case. I'll put it above Sableye because there was the Crystal Steelix. I remember seeing it in Mega form every now and then when someone had it, but that's it. I mean, you could also get a Steelix from the... Actually, yeah, because of that, I'm going to bump it up, actually. Forgot about that. So, because of the Steelix, a couple players would run Steelix just to try it. But, like, to get Steelix wasn't an easy process because you would need to get a metal coat. Actually... yeah, I put it above Diancie because it was easier to get the Mega... Or actually, no, same place. Because it was easier to get the Mega Stone, but actually obtaining Steelix wasn't as, easy as you would think because you'd have to trade. Diancie was not that hard to obtain. Like, you had to get the unknowns, but, like, most people would do that. And it's considered a legendary, so most people would want to go for the Diancie over Steelix. Although, because Steelix was more accessible, I'd say they're pretty much the same, but they're both rarely seen. Now, Mega Swampert, I'll say it's actually seen often enough. I'll put it right here. Actually, yeah, above Mega Beedrill. It's a pretty popular pick for newer players because a lot of people will run Swampert, and because they like how Swampert is, they'll just go ahead and Mega Evolve it. Although, I mean, the Battle Shop feature does make it a bit harder to come by because you'd have to, grind BP in order to get it. Although, on rain teams, especially in the higher levels, this is a go-to pick. So, you'll see it every now and then, although not enough to put it in the everywhere tier. Tyranitar is a similar situation. I'll say it's probably at the really end here, seen often. It's not, actually... Yeah, I'll put it right here because I do remember seeing this a lot in the original game. A lot of people love Tyranitar, so they'll go ahead and Mega Evolve it. Same thing with a lot of Pokemon like Gardevoir and Garchomp. Now, people who actually try using this competitively, I've never seen that because, I mean, I know you can run Dragon Dance and there are sets for this, like you could set up, rocks. You can do a lot of things with Tyranitar, although I've never really seen it at the highest levels, but for noobs, this is pretty popular, so I'll put it here in a scene often. Now, Mega Venusaur is going to join the ranks with Manectric and Aerodactyl and Sizer and Beedrill. I'll say it's actually more used than... Actually, it's probably somewhere, yeah, less than Medicham, but more than Swampert. And, I mean, I do remember seeing this a lot in the older remakes. It was very popular. In the old original game, this was really, really popular for some reason. Specifically with the competitive players. Like, I say competitive as in the people who are trying to win with the EV training and the IVs and all that stuff. So, Mega Venusaur, I haven't really seen it as often. Actually, I've never really seen it in any of the newer games, which stops me from putting it any higher. But, like, it's a pretty common competitive pick. So for that reason, it's going in the scene often. So this right here completes my tier list of Pokemon that I've ranked based on how often I've seen them in the meta. Now please do go ahead and drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.